What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, we're going to discuss the DCEU and how I think I finally found a solution on how they can fix their cinematic universe without having to totally reboot from the start. Well, it would still have to do it maybe like a soft reboot, but not a complete and total reboot, as I had stated in a previous video that I did where I thought that they should have just scrapped it and started over. But I do understand when people are telling me that they've come so far along. You know, they've put so much into their movies, and they do have good casts, and they do have good things going for them, but they're just not executing properly, and they don't have somebody in charge of the whole thing who isn't basically a studio puppet just catering to all of their whims instead of kind of fighting for who the characters are, and not even fighting, but just making a stand and a point for this is who these characters are and this is how we should move forward with each one of them to eventually bring them together. So, without having to scrap what's previously been done, there is an answer, and it's a one-word two-word answer: the Flash. That's it. The Flash, the character in the DC universe who can time travel. Now, I really hope Wonder Woman is good. I like some of the things I'm seeing in the trailer, but I think it's going to fail with the villain. I can't wait to see it before I can really judge it. I want it to be good, but I also wanted Man of Steel to be good. I also, be better than it was. It was good, but I wanted it to be great. And Batman vs. Superman, I wanted to be good, and it wasn't. Suicide Squad, I wanted to be good, and it wasn't. I made videos on all of these movies. If you're interested in that, definitely check it out after this one. So I just feel like they're on a downward spiral on their movies, progressively going in the wrong direction and taking the wrong turns. And it seems like to me it's all about the rush to beat Marvel and to compete with Marvel and to try and get out their stuff before the superhero bubble bursts, which it won't happen soon if you keep changing these movies and evolving the superhero movie beyond a superhero movie. DC is trying to do that, but they're not taking the right steps. So, without having to erase what's already been done, because people love it, obviously, and without having to cancel all other prospects that they may have in the line, which I think the only one now that's definitive getting done is Aquaman right now, like in production type of thing. They scrapped the Batman for now, and the Flash has been having so many problems. This is what they need to, and they want to release, I think, 2 movies next year. Aquaman and then something else. So they'll probably do, I heard, Gotham City Sirens, which I don't know how excited I am for that, but I don't know. Who knows? More Harley Quinn. I guess it can't be terrible. At least it'll be watchable like Suicide Squad's first half hour, I guess. I don't really know. Anyway, so this is what they do. You focus 2018 from now until as far as you can push it. They'd want to do a summer release, spring-summer release. So as long as you could, and try and get it out in maybe June or July. And you do Flash. You do a good movie, a good script. And unfortunately, it's got to be somewhat of an origin story. I know he's already going to be in Justice League, and I'm already saying don't rewrite, whatever's been already done in Justice League. So what you make the Flash solo film is taking place right after the Justice League, having Flash realize that his powers can go much more beyond speed, running, whatever, and that he can travel through time, and have him working that out. Learning that the rules of traveling through time, what you should and shouldn't do, what you can and can't do, And then, as long as it's a good movie, that's all people care about. The character represented well, the movie being fun. I'm not saying it's got to be a comedy. I'm not saying it's got to be as light as a Marvel movie, but there needs to be lightness to it. It's a superhero movie. Come on. Some lightness. Even the darkest superhero stuff needs some sort of lightness and levity in some characters, okay? All right. So you have Flash. He's already seems to be like he's going to be the comic relief, as he should be, because in the comic he's pretty much comic relief character anyway. So you have that film basically be about him learning about the time travel, as well as dealing with a villain also trying to do the same thing, or maybe a villain who's already learned how to travel through time, something like that. Have it be a great film. And then you can do a Batman film, because they're very anxious and eager to do a Batman film. And now you have this Batman be a younger Batman, not Affleck. I have no problem with him being Batman. You can still tell it in two stories, as an older Batman and a younger relating to each other, or have it be separate movies where you're telling one story of an older Batman being played by Affleck, who I enjoyed as Batman. I thought his Bruce Wayne could have been a little better, a little more swarthy and bondy, but his Batman was really good. And I get it. He's old. He's grizzled. He's not as much of a playboy as he used to be in his heyday. I get that. Okay. So then you have Flash travel back in that Batman movie. Flash comes in and makes a cameo for a small part of the movie, probably towards the end, towards the climax, letting Batman know that there was problems in the future right after the Justice League movie. Okay? And at first, they all thought the problem was too great a threat for them to defeat. But then Barry realizes, or maybe it's Batman in the future that realizes it and tells Barry and sends him on this mission, which would be even better. Tells Barry that the problem is not with the foes. The problems are with the heroes and in their character and in who they are and the trajectory that they've taken their lives. Batman ends up, being basically a killer. Superman is brooding and angry all the time. I can't find any flaw in Wonder Woman yet, because she didn't really do anything in Batman vs. Superman, and she probably had less lines than I've already spoken in this video. Definitely had less lines than I've spoken in this video, in this 8-minute video so far, right? So, and then Aquaman also seems like he's got a huge chip on his shoulder. And I'm not saying to erase that or change that, okay? Because maybe he can't get to all the heroes in the past. Like Aquaman is under the sea. It may be hard for Barry to find or reach. So, totally get that. So he goes back and he visits Batman at some point, and have to do with the plot of that movie, of it being a younger Batman, late 20s, early 30s, somewhat new in the game. I'm not saying it's got to be year one, but somewhat new in the game. Maybe he's dealing with his first super villain, his first high-profile villain in that film, and he's, basically on the I'm gonna kill route, or, whatever, and Barry starts telling them that this isn't the right way, this isn't how you should be, this isn't who you want to be in the future, and you regret the course you've taken in your life. So your future self is saying, yes, you're doing some things right, but you need to draw a line on the brutality or something like that. Okay, so then you can kind of course correct some of the problems that people had with Batman, or you can even have it explain why Batman was that way throughout the course of these films. But you got to have Barry talk to Batman about fundamentals and about the Justice League. That you got to find these other metahumans before the threat comes, because you put together the team too late. And that should be the biggest part about why Barry is visiting Bruce in the past, is about the Justice League and the formation and how he's got to do it sooner. Okay. Then you can do another Superman movie, this time dealing with a younger Superman. Make it different. Make it like Spider-Man Homecoming. They have no problem with borrowing ideas, DC. Nor should they, as I say 100 times. It's okay to borrow and pay homage and take ideas and turn them into your own, as long as it's not a direct copy. You do a young Superman that isn't Cavill. I like Henry Cavill. But right now we're trying to distance ourselves and reboot these characters. Not necessarily the movies. You're trying to reboot the characters so that you can do later movies with Affleck and with Cavill, or have flash forwards and jumping around in time, so that these characters can become the way that they originally should have been written in the first place before Zack Snyder kind of chopped them up. Or DC as a studio. I don't want to blame it all on Zack Snyder, because he's a fine filmmaker in some of his other work. And I also like a lot of the other filmmakers who have had missteps as far as, well, only David Ayer so far. But let's see where we go, right? Okay, so now you have that. So now you're rebooting Superman now, because you're having him be a young Superman, like a teenager, still in high school, dealing with his powers. And you have Barry visit him then and tell him that you can't lose hope. You are the beacon of hope. If anything, when people see you, they don't need to feel fear. There's other people for that. You have him hinting towards Batman, right? You can't make them feel fear. You have to make them believe in you and have the feeling of, with you, they can rise up, or show them that they can rise up. And then you've rebooted Superman into a lighter. I'm not saying he's got to be happy-go-lucky Captain America, but he should be somewhat like Captain America and more light-hearted of a character and not so dark and brooding all the time. Should he get like that at times? Hell yes. But when it's necessary, not all the time. Okay. So now you've rebooted Superman as a character now. And I know you're saying, but you're still erasing Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. But it's not really erasing them. It's just like X-Men and X1, what X-Men did with those franchises. They rebooted it. So you could still watch those movies. They're fine movies, and they still kind of fit in the universe because they have the same actors and some of the same, things going on. But now, as an overall cinematic universe, it's going to work better. More people are going to be happy, and you're going to make more money in the long run as a studio. When the people aren't happy, you might make money in the beginning. And you might make money all the way through because of the diehard fans. But are you going to do what Marvel's done for all these years and have 15 movies that are selling not only in the theaters but in the movies, not only in the US but worldwide? No, you're not going to have that. Eventually, people are going to get tired of a shitty movie. And they're going to stop going to see these movies unless you course correct them and start making them so that the characters are better. So then the Superman movie, have it be all in high school type of thing. You can even have him deal with some sort of supervillain towards the end of the film. It doesn't have to be all saving the day, cats out of trees and stuff, but I think that should be the most of it, because now you're building that character into the beacon of hope instead of the beacon of despair as he was portrayed. Okay, so now if the Wonder Woman movie is good, and I hope it is, then we don't even have to deal with Barry changing anything from that movie, hopefully, because I think it mostly takes place in the past. There might be some present stuff that I guess would be sort of course corrected in Barry's time travel, but it wouldn't have to erase the whole movie because of when it takes place, assuming it's a good movie. If it's not, then maybe we even have Barry travel back even further, which would be even cool. You do a whole movie, like a team-up movie of Barry and Wonder Woman on some different shit and have him go all the way back in time. Who knows? The possibilities are endless with time travel as long as you set rules for yourself. They need to plan it out. So in making this Flash movie about time travel, you need to also plan out your next 8-9 steps, so that you know where you're going with the story and it doesn't lose momentum. Now, you want to do something better than Marvel? You want to beat Marvel at something? Have awesome villains. One thing Marvel does is the villains are awesome until the end of the movie, and you're like, I didn't get enough of them. I didn't get enough story. The final battle was weak. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I love almost every scene in that movie, except for that stupid dance-off shit at the end with Ronan, who's such a badass killer, and what are you doing? Terrible. That part of the movie, I hated, but the rest of the movie was great. So you want to beat Marvel at something, DC? not only do you need to nail your characters, that's not beating Marvel, that's competing. Because they've nailed all their characters, or even made them more likable and better than they were in the source material. So that's your first step. Second step, of course, always is the story. You have to get good writers who understand the material, and you have to have a good showrunner. A good guy, a Kevin Feige, a Joss Whedon-esque type of person who knows how to treat this stuff and will write in the future now. You write your future steps now. And then it all starts to mesh together and it all starts to become one. So, and then step 3, do better villains. Do villains better than Marvel and you will have surpassed Marvel because so far they haven't nailed it. Do I think they're working on that with Phase 3? I do. Have I seen it yet? No. Zemo was underwhelming in Civil War. I liked him, but I thought there could have been more with Zemo. You know, he was kind of a throwaway character. You could have took him out of the movie, and it really wouldn't have made much of a difference. Crossbones in that, you know, he's gone in the first, 10 minutes. Spoiler alert. And then Doctor Strange, they could have done much more with Caecilius. They had a great actor, again, as usual, like they usually do for the villains, and they just didn't do enough with him. And, yeah, I get it. You got a lot to do. I get it. And Dormammu, to me, didn't look that great either, in my opinion. The CGI on him. But nothing's perfect. I also love Doctor Strange. I'm a huge Marvel fan. You guys know that already if you've watched any of my videos. And I'm a little biased to Marvel. But I want to love DC as much as I love Marvel. And this is what I hope they do. Use Flash. Use your 2018 spot. Put everything you got into a great Flash movie that deals with time travel, and then have Flash go back and course correct your two biggest characters, Batman and Superman, make them work, make them great, and then you can still go forward with some Affleck here and there, and Cavill in other movies and other Justice League movies. Whatever you want to do, the sky's the limit now, because now you could tell stories in 2 planes of existence. You could tell the past with all the Flash course correcting, and you can tell the future storyline that's now been changed with those same actors from the alternate storyline. Now you may say, well, that's confusing. It's not that confusing if you just do timestamps on the bottom, small exposition in the beginning of each movie explaining what's going on. Fuck it, do a Star Wars crawl if you have to. DC's already trying to bite off Marvel step for step, which is okay. Marvel bit off DC for years in the comics. Movies bite off other movies constantly. Books bite off movies, movies bite off books, cartoons, this, that. It happens. It's the industry. It's the nature of the beast. Nothing wrong with it. So when I say that DC bites off Marvel, nothing wrong with that. But the way they went about it was not carefully, whereas Marvel approached it carefully, with a plan, with a strategy, and DC strategy was, well, let's try and catch up to Marvel instead of world building and character building, which is what Marvel did and is why Marvel works. Even with shitty villains or shitty climaxes to some of their movies, Marvel works. DC hasn't really worked. On a financial standpoint, they have. But trust me, that's not going to last if they keep making shit. And they keep not letting their directors make movies, and they don't hire a goddamn good showrunner. That's it. You need a Feige or a Whedon-esque type of character who's going to take control, tell you this is what needs to be done, this is how you treat this, that, and the other thing, and the studio needs to let that guy do it, and then you craft a whole universe that everyone loves, and you're still keeping Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, and Man of Steel in there where you can watch them. It's just the alternate timeline of what happens. So you can make your choice of which ones you want to leave out or whatever. I personally think that's a great idea. It's the perfect way for them to save it without rebooting. I was racking my brain after people would tell me it's not practical for them to reboot now. And in a way that you're right. So find a way to restart, jumpstart, the way First Class did, and Days of Future Past did for the X-Men. Do that for DC, where you still keep it all, but change it. that's that. All right. So that's it for this video. Chime in down below. I'm sure you will. Let me know what's how you feel. Let me know your opinions. If you like this idea, you don't like this idea. I really hope Wonder Woman is great. I hope Aquaman is great. I hope Justice League is great. Do I have high hopes? No. DC has killed it with trailers in every one of their movies. Their trailers are awesome. Batman vs. Superman was the exception once the Doomsday trailer came out. But I'm going to do a whole video about trailers probably today. So, with that being said, like I said, chime off down below. You guys have a good day. That's it for this vid. I will see you next time.